Senator Black, Senator Gannon, Senator McCreary,
Here.
Senator Roberts,
Here.
Senator Schroer.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. We're going to hear two bills today. We're going to start with Senator Brown on Senate Bill 114.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. For the record, my name is Senator Justin Brown, representing the Senatorial District. I'm here today to present Senate Bill 114. This waives the requirement for a physician's letter to apply or renew an applicant's disabled plate or windshield tag for an applicant who is permanently disabled veteran. I have talked with many of my constituents, and they were frustrated to learn the letter from the U.S. Veterans Administration does not count as a doctor's note to obtain or renew their disabled license plates or tags. This bill fixes the issue, removes the extra hurdle disabled veterans have to go through. It's pretty self-explanatory. It also helps both veterans and non-veterans and allows for a permanent disabled windshield placard to be renewed every 8 years instead of every 4. I appreciate the opportunity to present the bill, and I would entertain any questions. I think I have one witness to testify. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. Any questions for the witness? Senator Schroer?
Yeah, briefly.
For the bill sponsor?
I'm looking at the current language, and I'm very supportive of this bill. I know it's very hard for some of our veterans to get in quickly to get the care that they need. And I see here that other authorized healthcare practitioner includes advanced practice, registered nurses, physician's assistants. Are all of those authorized, do you know, to sign off to get the placard?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Further questions for the bill sponsor? Senator McCreary.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So this is one of those examples to me of like, it seems like we shouldn't, like if somebody's permanently disabled, how would that change from, year to year? So that's what I'm struggling to understand. It's like if somebody is permanently.
This basically, if I think I'm going to answer this correctly, this has to do with like renewal. So
Right.
they have to have the.
So I'm saying, like, it seems like if somebody has been deemed to be permanently disabled, that should count as permanently
Right.
disabled.
No,
You
I-
shouldn't
yeah.
have to go in every year or every, whatever.
I agree with you.
To prove that you're still
Yeah.
disabled. So
Yeah.
I think this bill makes a lot of sense. I'm quite honestly surprised that it's an issue. It seems
Right.
like if
No,
someone's permanently disabled, that should be like.
Right. Totally agree with you.
Yep, thank you.
Further questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. Is there anyone that would like to testify in favor of Senate Bill 114? Please come forward, state your name, where you're from, and the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the committee. Joshua Shoemaker, with the Department of Revenue. Just want to real quick go on record of support on behalf of the department. This is one of the department's legislative proposals, and we do appreciate the sponsor working with us and getting this filed. It would result in not only an efficiency for the department, but also a service to applicant holders and any individual who will apply for and receive a placard in the future by minimizing when they have to go into a licensed office to renew. And it will also provide a service to the individuals who have served our country by exempting them from having to provide a physician statement whenever they obtain a placard. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Question for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
All right, thank you.
Further witnesses in favor of Senate Bill 114? Seeing none. Witnesses in opposition to Senate Bill 114? Seeing none. Witnesses for informational purposes only? Seeing none. Senator, any closing comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for allowing me to present this bill.
All right. That'll conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 114. We will now hear Senate Bill 256 from Senator Brattin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, for the record, Senator Rick Brattin, 31st Senatorial District, bringing forth Senate Committee substitute for Senate Bill 256. I do believe that the committee sub has been distributed. Okay, this time we got it right. What it does different from the original bill that I did file is it includes the National Guard. And it's a really simple bill. Hopefully that's not the kiss of death, but it allows for veterans to be able to obtain a free hunting and fishing license. And that's basically it. And one thing, if you've been around the veteran community and what a lot of veterans deal with, a lot of these veteran organizations realize the real true impact to help bring a lot of veterans that are suffering with PTSD or disability, the capability to enjoy the outdoors and experience something that is really fulfilling. It has a profound impact. I have in my district, well, it used to be before redistricting, an organization called Duckhorn, and they bring in disabled vets, even have the track, I forget the name of the track chairs, and go out, do pheasant hunts, duck hunts, and it's remarkable the sense of accomplishment, that many veterans really do struggle with acclimating back into society. And I just think this is a huge way to introduce. In no way does this preempt or put a stop to them having to purchase a turkey tag, deer tag, small game tag, for the specific animal species to hunt. And I did want to bring that up because the fiscal note shows, and is actually factually incorrect in the assessment, because it does include that the deer hunting permit, turkey hunting permit, archery permit are included in what the fiscal note would cost. And it states in the bill that it's just the hunting and fishing, license permit is all that this does cover. So that would be a substantial hit to what the fiscal note is. But again, this is just hopefully a gateway and an entryway to get veterans back on their feet and to feel a sense of community and just enjoy what they fought for. So at any rate, this is, I know we have testimony for this bill and would love to have them up as well. And thank you for allowing me to present this.
Fantastic. Questions for the witness, Senator Schroer?
Yeah, briefly, on your bill, I'm not interested in waiving the obligation for the hunter's safety. So there are some veterans that are older that may not have been grandfathered in, but they've got the training. They're veterans. They know what they're doing. I'm not saying that they don't have to take the course, but have you considered maybe waiving those fees for them as well, for the hunter's safety?
I haven't considered that for the hunter safety. Currently now it's an online test and a potential field exercise. Maybe some way to not do the field exercise. But I get the gun safety aspect of it. I mean, it's something you have extensive training on. Firearms, the fundamentals and everything. So I'd definitely be willing to explore that with you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions for the bill sponsor, Senator McCreary?
Thank you. So I was looking at the fiscal note on page 3. It talks about the loss to the Department of Conservation at $3.3 million, but then it said plus loss of federal reimbursements estimated at $2 million. So that is the part of the fiscal note I'm concerned about. And maybe there's somebody that can explain how we would be taking the loss to the Department of Conservation of $3.3 million plus that $2 million coming from federal reimbursements. I just want to make sure, that
Right.
that we're not doing anything irresponsible. So, but I don't understand enough about how the federal government interacts with this.
Well, and the thing with hunting and fishing, I think that if you haven't done it, the level of I guess investment that you have to do to hunt fish. I mean, you have to go buy the equipment. You have to travel and all these sorts of things, and to have the equipment in order to do that. So you're investing in the areas in which you're going to partake in the activity. So I mean, there's that revenue that's generated that's not reflected in this fiscal note as well. So, but I lovely. I would love to hear the concerns from the department to see what we can potentially do to alleviate that. Thank you.
So you would just make the case that if you take the 3.3 plus the $2 million, that you think the positive of what you're proposing would outweigh the fiscal impact?
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you're getting more people involved, they're buying this equipment, they're doing that, and getting their family involved, and so on and so forth. I mean, absolutely. Like myself, I have 5 kids. They all, I mean, it looks like a battleship in our hunting blind with all my kids. So it's not just something that is narrowly tailored to that veteran. I mean, it's something that really does grow, and the exponential investment into the conservation department remains, and I think will definitely outweigh that. Yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Further questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. Anyone would like to testify in favor of Senate Bill 256? Please come forward, state your name, where you're from, and the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Jakin Waldock. However, I'm a Lieutenant Colonel with the National Guard. However, I'm not here in the capacity of a Lieutenant Colonel. I'm here representing the Missouri National Guard Association. And the Missouri National Guard Association represents the 12,000 members of the Missouri Air and Army National Guard here in the state. So I'm going to give you just a quick pathos and ethos, and then I'll transition into some logos support arguments, and then I'll turn it over for questions. So the Missouri National Guard has a dual mission. We train, fight, and win our nation's wars, and to do that we build readiness, and then we take all that readiness and that capacity, that capability, and we apply it to our state mission, which we execute in service of the citizens of Missouri. That's to protect the lives and property of Missouri citizens. So in that, there's a lot of lost weekends, nights. Occasionally we take a year and we deploy in support of our state or nation. So there's a lot of sacrifice there. And I think this bill would do a lot to message to those people who are sacrificing on behalf of Missouri citizens that they're honored, they're respected, and that Missouri supports veterans and National Guard members. And for our logos argument, it's no secret out there that recruiting is tough. And any benefit that we can apply, where if service members are, a lot of times they, a police department in a city, for example, will have several members who are National Guard members as well. And when their coworkers who are not National Guard members see, like, oh, wow, you guys get free hunting and fishing license, or, whatever job they're at, all these benefits that they get, they think, wow, Missouri really supports you guys. This is something that they find important as a legislature, as a Senate, as a government body. That's something maybe I should look into as well. Any little bit helps. So I appreciate the fact that Senator, I appreciate you bringing this forward, and I appreciate that you've expanded to include the National Guard. And I think it's not necessarily about the $5 or $10 that we're saving per person. It's more about the messaging that this body brings to the veterans of this state. And I think what's good for the Guard is good for Missouri. Thank you. I'm open to questions now.
Great. Question for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Okay, thank you so much.
Further testimony in support of Senate Bill 256? Seeing none, testimony in opposition to Senate Bill 256. Please come forward, state your name, where you're from, and the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
There we go. Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Steve Jones. I'm a U.S. Army veteran, a life member of the VFW, and I've hunted and fished all my life. I'm also a former Missouri hunter education instructor. I enlisted as a volunteer in 1977 when I was 19. After 4 years of active duty, then 5 years, a mix of active and inactive reserves, I was honorably discharged as a staff sergeant in 1986. As a fellow veteran, I am grateful to Vice Chairman Brattin, the author of Senate Bill 256, for his service as a Marine and also for his service on this important committee. I'm certain that he and I are in complete agreement that a nation of character shows gratitude to its military veterans. But today I rise in reluctant, respectful, but certain opposition to Senate Bill 256. The Missouri Conservation Commission already acknowledges sacrifices made in defense of our nation via their current regulations, which exempt disabled veterans and former POWs from the need to have a permit to hunt and fish, except for deer and turkey tags. And all Missourians aged 65 and over, veteran or not, have similar exemptions granted by the Commission. But the draft ended in 1972, so all living draftees are already over 65 years old and do not need to purchase a hunting and fishing permit. Thus, Senate Bill 256 impacts only the veterans who performed voluntary military service, whose service did not result in a meaningful disability, and who are under 65. As a purely anecdotal comment, I've discussed Senate Bill 256 with a few veterans of my acquaintance and haven't yet encountered one who thinks it's called for. The fiscal note for Senate Bill 256, again, I wrote this before I heard the discussion that it may not be accurate, tells us it would take over $5 million away from the Conservation Department every year. Though I'm sure some veterans would support Senate Bill 256, I believe the majority would agree such a policy would be an inappropriate recognition of respect for their service. And those familiar with how the MDC is funded would consider it a misguided interference in the Missouri model of conservation, which again is constitutional. Thanking veterans for their service is a fine gesture. Using legislation to achieve such a goal implies a lack of respect for the citizen-created constitutional structure for Missouri conservation funding. It is not an appropriate way to honor our veterans. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Fantastic. Thank you for your testimony. Questions for the witness? Senator Roberts.
Hey, thank you for your testimony today. I'm just curious, do you know what their the conservation's annual budget is?
The what? I'm sorry.
What their annual budget is?
The Conservation Department's annual budget?
Yeah,
I do not know it. If I was going to speak from dim memory, I'd say about $160 million a year.
Okay, thank you.
Further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 256? Seeing none, anyone that would like to testify for informational purposes only on Senate Bill 256, please come forward, state your name, where you're from, and the floor is yours for 3 minutes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Aaron Jeffries, Deputy Director for the Missouri Department of Conservation. Appreciate the opportunity to provide some information regarding Senate Bill 256, primarily related to the fiscal note and the services that the department offers to veterans today. As the legislation was drafted, it does refer to hunting and fishing permits. It probably would need to be clarified because that would include deer, turkey, waterfowl, as well as fishing. So a little different interpretation there as to how we came up with our fiscal note in regard to the federal impact. There is an excise tax that is charged on the manufacturing of ammunition and firearms. That money is then reimbursed back to the states. And that's based on the number of licenses that are sold, the size of the state. That money is then used to construct shooting ranges, which it's a great cycle. It feeds itself. I mean, we have a place for folks to go shoot. We determine the fiscal note based off the population of veterans here in the state, assuming a large number were already over the age of 65, and then using a very conservative estimate of 10 to 15% that would likely be hunting, and that's how we came up with the 3.3 million. There's no doubt our commission does recognize the contributions and services that our veterans have provided to the state and the nation. They've done that through a variety of permit exemptions, as well as other reduced price permits. But probably most notably is really the work of our conservation agents with various non-for-profits, with various veteran groups, wounded warrior groups. I would guess that we probably provide the track chairs that Senator Brattin was referring to the duck and buck hunting group. We have about 25 of those located around the state for disabled individuals and for disabled hunts. But with that, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you very much. Don't forget to fill out a witness form. Further testimony and for informational purposes on Senate Bill 256. Seeing none, Senator, any closing comments?
Thank you.
All right, this will conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 256. That is all for today. I'd make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? I do have a second. We are adjourned.
I mean, I love this committee, but